So in terms of the podcast journey, everything kind of has its little path, right? There is the editorial consideration. There is the actual, what's the program, what's the format of it going to be? How are we going to produce it? How are we going to publish it? And then how are we going to get the word out? Okay, those are really the elements, and it's not that complicated, but there are some technical elements that you'll need to learn and kind of study up on. So the editorial standpoint is, are you going to follow your monthly themes, right? That's, to me, if you've taken that idea of a monthly theme to heart, why not make your podcast, if you're going to do, say, a monthly show to begin with, why not make your podcast be on theme, for your content calendar? What's the style of it going to be? There are a lot of ways. I mean, it's just audio content. You can put a microphone in front of yourself and go on for 20 minutes, right? I mean, that's, that's one potential format. It doesn't have to be an interview, but that's, again, that is another format that I think really works, particularly for this idea of access. And then what's ultimately the content going to look like? Is it going to be, a Q&A? Is it going to be, a review of something? Is it going to just be a conversation? I know some people that do a pretty effective job with having a couple people on, and they just, as the moderator, you just sort of facilitate a discussion amongst a couple people. There's just so many ways that you can do this, and so if this idea has any appeal, like all things, what I'd suggest is you go subscribe to some podcasts and start looking. All you have to do is go to the iTunes store. There's a podcast category. Breaks it up into every imaginable category: health, cooking, fitness, business, everything you can imagine. You'll find the top shows in every one of those categories. It's a great way to start, and it's all free, or I should say 99% of it's free, and you can actually listen to a couple episodes and decide, oh yeah, I think I want to subscribe to this. So what's the program going to be? So are you going to have, the format being a Q&A or an interview? How frequently are you going to do it? Are you going to have set segments? So I do mine once a week, and mine is a straight up interview. It lasts for about 20 minutes because I've found that's what people are on a treadmill, that's walk around the park, that's a topic. Unless you're really funny, that's about all people will listen to, or unless you're really doing something very technical, explaining something very technical that they need to sit there and kind of listen as they're trying to, figure out how to do something, is good. Another thing that I don't do any segments. In other words, I start the interview and I end the interview, and that's my show. But I get interviewed by people all the time that will do a, 5 minutes, with John. Then we're going to talk about, what's the cool new tool that I found this week, and then we're going to have, we're going to end this with, recommendations of 5 books you should read or something. I mean, so they actually break it up kind of magazine style and actually have segments. So, again, there is no perfect answer. What is a format or an approach that would really serve, your needs? I'll go into some of the technical elements, although they're not terribly technical. You can buy a radio studio if you want, for several tens of thousands of dollars, I guess, for all the equipment. But you can get what I have listed here, the equipment that I use, for a couple $100, and you can be in business podcasting. The one thing I would splurge on is a microphone. And I use one pictured there. It's called a Blue Yeti. Blue is the name of the company. Yeti is the model, and it is a USB microphone. In other words, it plugs into your computer that you have a USB port. And it is a stereo microphone, and it just, the quality of the sound, I mean, even the best microphones built into your computer or on your earbuds, will pale in comparison to this. I think it's about $200. You'll see that little attachment on there, something called a pop screen. It actually stops some of the bad noises when you kind of get animated about something, and stops, from spiking. What I do is I use Skype for all of my calls. So, and I actually use what's called a Skype in phone number. So, and I'm about to go away from that, but I still had guests that I would invite that they didn't have Skype. They didn't know what Skype was, years ago. And so this gave them the ability to call me on a 10-digit phone number. It still rang into Skype. So I still could use my tools and my recording, but if they didn't have Skype, I didn't have to worry about that. I've experienced of late, almost everybody has and uses Skype, and you get a better connection with that. There's a little add-on I use on the Mac called Call Recorder. And what that does is as soon as the call comes in, that recorder pops up, and it just allows me to record both of our voices right into, right into my computer, basically, as a digital file. And it also allows me to split the tracks, which can be important come editing because, sometimes my guest is really loud for some reason or really low for some reason. And so by being able to split the tracks with Call Recorder, I can then bring it into my editing and levelize, the tracks with just because it's split out. Okay. If you're not a Mac person, there is a add-on to Skype called Pamela that works about the same way I understand. Because I'm a Mac person, I use GarageBand, which comes free with Mac and does way more than I can ever make it do or will ever learn how to make it do. But certainly for my podcasting, it just simplifies the process. I drag the tracks on there. I already have my opening music. I have my closing music that I happen to use, and then I'm done. And it saves it in a format an MP3 format that it makes it so that I can use it with my podcast.